live, ready to take and answer your fantasy basketball and, you know what, life questions as well. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and today we celebrate the fact that Darvin Ham and Taurean Prince are undefeated in NBA Cup play through 2 seasons. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold, providing the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. The benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free, and we are available on all platforms, so you know what to do. It's double bang time. Also, check out lockedondaily.com and get up into the business of getting a newsletter for your favorite NBA team. Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys here. It's a great idea from old mate here. I can't read your name, but he said, let's trash Tatum for not playing tonight. Yeah, he sucks. How soft is Jason Tatum, man? He's terrible. Can't believe I drafted him because he never gets hurt, and now he's hurt. Wow, what a ridiculous pick. You guys all told me that he was always going to be healthy, and that's just, wow, just wrecked. Just my whole thing is finished. Matt says, all right, who TF is Michael Bolton? Well, he's the man that invented Google, so when you go onto Google, you can search up Michael Bolton, and it'll tell you all about him because he invented Google, so go check that out. All right. Let's go through a bunch of stuff here. Get your questions in. We'll go through as many as we can. And if you are worried, hey, Josh, why do you never answer my question? It's because there's lots of them. And I try to answer as many as I can to provide the best, broadest sort of overview for people as well. Mirko Herincic, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Mirko. Do you think that Paul George is healthy? We can also, PG-13, he's number 8 now. You can't call him PG-13, which is good. Just call him Paul George, I think. Do you think if Paul George is healthy, is he a top 30 player rest of season? Yes, I do. I do think he'll be that per game. It's been a slow start for George with injury, obviously. Some shooting issues at times, but yes, I do think that he will be that. All right. Al Saldana says, should you add Ayodosumu, who plays 1 game, or Castle, who plays 2 games this week? Points League, 8 team. I'll tell you what you need to do, Al. You're in a points league, right? So, well, not in a points league, you're in an 8-team league. It's extraordinarily shallow. Either one of those guys, just take the volume. Like that, you were talking about double the minutes for Castle there, double the minutes. And then you move on to the next guy. And you move on after that. And you move on after that. And you move on after that. This is an 8-team league. You're going to have so much value. I'd suggest there are going to be probably 20 guys that are actually better than Castle that's available on your waiver wire. But look for the 2-game player in a scenario like this. Okay. Do you think that we can trade Brandon Ingram from any healthy top 100 player in 9-cat leagues currently in first place? Top 100 is maybe going a little far, although we just don't know how long Brandon Ingram is going to be out. So the fact that you're in first place changes my opinion on that a bit. If you were 5th, I'd say, yeah, like just get somebody back who's providing value. If you're in first, like Ingram, I don't think he's a top 50 player, but top 75 is possible, especially with the unknowns around Zion. So if I'm in first place, I'd be more likely to sit on it, giggity, and wait a little bit just to see if we get him back or you can get a better offer than that. That's how I would approach that. Mark Williams or Quickly? Well, in terms of who I think is going to be the better guy, it's going to be Quickly. Obviously, we're still waiting for a return there. I would just take Quickly there pretty easily. Do I think that the NBA Cup has been an overall W for the league? Yes. Almost unequivocally, yes. I really don't see any negatives to it. If you're complaining about the NBA Cup and it's because of fantasy basketball, just don't. Like, yeah, the schedule this week has not been fantastic. There's been very few games. But again, all this stuff can be easily mitigated by creating the right fantasy matchups. Yeah, it's been annoying. We've had 8 games. So far, we've had 5 games in the last 3 days. That's not great. And next week, 2 0-game days is not ideal either. But it's actually okay, right? It gives us a little bit of time to refresh, gives us a little bit of time for some of our players to get healthy. I thought that might be the case for LeBron, but apparently he's not playing tomorrow, so maybe the footy is really an issue, or there's these personal issues, whatever that is. I don't know. I'm a little worried about that. But yeah, I think it's an unequivocal W, the NBA Cup, and I don't really think there's any argument to have it a different direction. LeBron or Cade in a roto league? To me, it's pretty clearly Cade Cunningham. Yeah, pretty clearly. Should you be worried about Evan Mobley's injury? Not really. Like, again, not to sound like a dick, but worrying doesn't help anything. I don't think there's anything significant here in terms of he's going to be out months or anything like that. They're playing the Wizards, I believe, tomorrow, so obviously they don't need to push him through that. It might be a 1 week or 2 week thing, so I wouldn't be too bothered by him missing a game or two here. I think it's okay. All right, hey mate, what are some stash guys for late in the season? All right, Bronzogi Puz, which I'm sure is definitely not your name. Maybe it is. Apologies if it is. Nobody, don't do it. Impossible. Right, stashing now for the majority of leagues is a losing exercise. Why? Because you need the roster spot. And when is a stash going to come to fruition? February the 20th? 2 months from now? March the 20th? 3 months from now? It's wasting your time. And the other thing is, you have no idea. I have no idea. There's going to be random blokes that pop up on the nets. Noah Clowney, Jalen Wilson, Zaire Williams. There's going to be random blokes, Justin Champagny, maybe in Washington. You're going to get better performances from younger players. Absolutely. But it is a waste of your time and energy to even think about it. And that is a waste of my time even talking about it that much. So, yeah. All right. You have too many centers and it's affecting my active roster spot. Should I drop Badadze, Duran? Yeah, okay. So you got a lot of mid centers. Badadze, Duran, Mark Williams, Aiden, and Nurkic. Who would you drop out of that group? Honestly, with the way they've been performing, I know Mark Williams has only played limited minutes, but I would consider Duran. Honestly, I think I'm really worried about where he's going to push forward, and they just don't seem interested in giving him bigger minutes. So it's probably him. I'd always look for a trade before that, but that's it. If Mobley is out, should I pick up Niang? I wouldn't be that bothered with it. That's not true. He said a 16-teamer. In a 16-team, sure, absolutely. That is worth streaming in. But anything else, I wouldn't bother with doing that. What can you get with Josh Hart as a sell high? No idea, mate. That's for you to decide. The way I like to look at sell highs. I can't tell you a name because it's impossible. Because I don't know what's in the heart and minds of people in your league, nor do I know your league format or the rest of your team. I've got no idea. So all I tell you is that look at what Josh Hart is doing, and the field goal percentage stuff in particular is just way through the roof, and it is going to fall back. He's not going to be like an 85% rim shooting player. That's just not likely to be there. So what you should do is look, okay, where do you think Josh Hart currently is? Where do you think he's going to end up? Look for something in the middle in terms of a value range of a player. That's how you should do it, I believe. All right, good. Yes, you are, Brandon. I clicked the wrong button there. My apologies. Good. Carga Las Balas, I hope is pronounced correctly. Says Fred VanVleet is your cover guy, so here's a Fred VanVleet question. Do you trade him for Siakam in a 9-cat, 10-team head-to-head league punting free throws? Yeah, yes, you do, because VanVleet's value is not in punting free throws. He's a really good free throw shooter. VanVleet's value is in scoring, and he hurts your field goals, whereas Siakam's the opposite. I would do that pretty comfortably. I don't think there should be much debate about that, to be honest. Julian, I just answered this question about stash and late. Nothing. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't think about it. This is my job. I do this 24/7 fantasy, and I would not spend a single second thinking about who to stash. It is just a losing proposition. Do I think Suggs can keep up top 60 production? Yes, I do. There's nothing that really suggests that things are going to fall off completely for him. In fact, it's likely that his usage stays high for a strong period of time here. So no reason why he shouldn't be able to do that. All right, what else do we have here? What's a realistic target for Dyson Daniels top 40? Well, not after yesterday. He's not like his game was very good yesterday, and people, Mike, do get very sort of caught up, I guess, in what just happened. Especially, and this is another interesting part about human psyche and psychology, is that when you're talking about anything regarding your games and players, if there's only 2 games on, people hyper-focus on those 2 games and they're not crossing over. So everybody is watching and paying attention to what is happening to that particular team in that particular moment. So if someone has a very good game, DeAndre Hunter, shooting-wise, a very bad game, Fred VanVleet, or something that's just not that good, like Dyson Daniels, then it's going to be amplified. So wait for some better games. Like, if you could get a top 40 player for Dyson Daniels, I'd be really interested in doing it. The thing you got to look at is that what Dyson is providing you, you cannot get anywhere else. You can't. You're not going to get someone who's going to be a close to 3 steals player. That doesn't exist anywhere. You can't get that. Now, you might not need that, but if you do need that, don't trade it away. But you might not need it, and then you look at what sort of things you need. But yeah, top 40 is a reasonable area in terms of valuation, but I wouldn't be doing it after a game where it was a little bit mid from him. It wasn't terrible, but a little bit mid. Do you pick up Duran or BJ Boston from waivers 8-man points league? I can't see either of those guys being remotely interesting from a 8-team perspective outside of just streaming in today. And I think with those guys, we're talking about a shallow-ass league, right? These are... You're flipping a coin with players like that. You're finding someone who plays today. Take whoever. I don't think it really matters. And I don't think there's any way to lean strongly that one guy is going to be way better than the other one today. So take whoever, and then you drop them afterwards and get somebody else in. I think that's the best way to do that. Do I think I'll have Zion in the Kawhi Embiid not drafting him zone of injury risk? Yeah, I think so, yes, because my philosophy on this, and people often will say, oh, you're so inconsistent with this. I don't believe that I am. I think it's really, really straightforward to me. If you have the same lower body injury recurrent, the same injury over and over and over again, that suggests some sort of issue, deformity, malfunction with that issue. Embiid, meniscus, knee, cooked, swelling all the time. Kawhi, knee, meniscus, no cushioning, swelling all the time. Zion, 5 hamstring pings that take forever to get back. Done. I'm out. That is the same. If Zion broke his hand and then sprained his ankle and then hurt his hamstring and then hurt his calf and then had a concussion and then broke his hand, I go, I don't care. None of that stuff matters. But when you ping your hamstring time and time and time and time again, then yeah, I think there's a problem with your hamstring, and it is going to take a lot to reconvince me. And I am a big Zion supporter, so yes. All right. What are we going to do now? Yeah, well, let's come back and talk more about this stuff, which is a great idea. But first of all, I'm going to tell you about today's episode and today's sponsor, which is Robinhood. Yes, with Robinhood Gold, you don't need that big old silver spoon. You get those financial favors of the 1% a different way, and that's with Robinhood Gold. It allows all of the other people to get those rates and perks that are usually reserved for high society. The resourceful individual, which of course is you. You can get all of that stuff with Robinhood Gold at a very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. But you guys might have a high net worth anyway, so maybe just add this on top of it. That's okay too. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. All right. So get more of your questions. We are here live taking fantasy basketball questions on a Friday for me, a Thursday for you guys, getting ready before the 3 games that are coming up. All right. Did you mess up? Again, guys, if you've made a trade and you want to know whether it was good or not, don't worry about it. It's in the past. Take your fantasy rearview mirror off your car and don't worry about it. Who cares? If I say you messed up, who cares? If I say you won, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Just work with what you've got. All you can do is then work to change or improve and see how it goes. Yes? Soup City Budget Collecting is a fantastic name. He says, you've repeatedly said that you are out on guys for injuries and marketing for future shutdown. Any other players you predict to be shut down early this early in the season? The guys that you need to watch for are the players in Portland. The Ides of March, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons are the big worries. I'll be a little worried about a Kyle Kuzma maybe in Washington, but there's a risk of him being dealt, or not a risk, a risk alleviation of him being dealt. But the ones that we've seen do it egregiously are Portland and Utah, and they are still terrible, and they are going to do it again. They are the teams that have routinely done this, and that is where you should have your worry. Simons, Grant, Markkanen, John Collins maybe, but they're the major ones. They're the major 3 players that I worry about there. All right, what else have we got from you guys? If it's super specific stuff about your individual league, it is a little bit harder for me to provide that information, but Yeah, I do my best to do what I can here. Is Jimmy Butler top 50? Not at the moment, and I don't think that he is going to be, honestly. Is Kuzma droppable? I wouldn't have thought so, Dylan. I know it's been very bad from Kuzma so far this season. I would be holding him, and I would not drop him at this point. All right. So many questions coming through here. Why do we call it positive regression, Aiden asks? Isn't that like saying upward decline? Yeah, I hate that term. Statisticians use that term. It's a ridiculous term, but it is what it's used. It should just be called progression. But whatever, they call it positive regression, which, again, just sounds clearly crazy, and I don't know why. Someone dropped Mark Williams. Is it worth dropping Derek Lively for him in a 14-team? Well, I'm going to guess, Prajesh, that you have someone worse than Derek Lively in a 14-team league. But if you don't, then yeah, I think Mark Williams is going to produce more than Derek Lively this season. Why doesn't Yves Missi get more recognition? He should be top 3 in Rookie of the Year talks. No? Well, I'm certain he is. Who else is ahead of him in Rookie of the Year talks? I'm going to say that Castle is there. And who else? I would be shocked if... Actually, you know what? We've got them coming up later on as a sponsor on the show. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Let's take a look at who they actually have as the top 3 Rookie of the Year award winners. Let's have a look. Season awards. Hey, guess who you think's going to win? Oh, no, they don't. He's 4th in Rookie of the Year. Interesting. So Jared McCain's first at -160. That's ridiculous. Steph Castle's next. Dalton Connect's next. And Yves Missi. You're right. Missi has been better than Connect. He's been better than... borderline better than McCain. And pretty similar to Castle, I would say. So, yeah, interesting. Why do people want me, and I'll say this a million times, oh, yeah, I'm not trading for Embiid. Yeah, but why do you want me to trade for Embiid? If you want to trade for Embiid and you want me to just give you a little finish off wristy at the end, just do it. Here's your wristy. Do it. I'm not doing it. I will not do it. If my worst player is Gabe Vincent, if my worst player is someone that I'm about to drop, sure. But you know what that also leads you to the problem of? Then you're hamstrung with Embiid. That when he gets hurt, he takes up your IL slot. When he's in and out and you don't know if he's going to play and he's going to be limited, you are stuck with that problem. I don't know why people want me to say, yeah, but in this case, just I am not doing it. You can make whatever argument you want about whichever sort of fringe guy or whoever it is, trade from. I don't care. I am not doing it. I do not want the hassle on my team. And I do think that we are going to have significant absences still this season for Embiid. But I could be wrong. I just don't want to do it. So here's your little thing at the end. Just for you. Just, yes, grab him. Take him. Some of that is tongue-in-cheek. But, you know. Lucas, nobody. Stop. Guys, I will be very, very clear on this. Who am I watching end of the season? Nobody. Stop doing this. You guys, I think it is the wildestly incorrect approach to fantasy basketball. It is December the 12th, my guys. If you sit here and divest your attention to thinking about who is going to play and who is not going to play and the guys that might benefit in those situations, you're going to be wrong by a million miles. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Get value in now. Yeah? Rodrigo, the only question of yours I've seen is this one's here asking, answer my question. All right. Is this it here? Maybe I ignored it because you put Lord in capital letters. Should you trade J-Dub and Allen for AD? Yeah, almost certainly. Yes. Almost certainly. But like when you're in a shallow league, like a 10-team league, if you can do a 2-for-1 to get a pretty solid higher-end play, and I don't think Jalen Williams is a top 5 guy very clearly, do it. Take the high-end guy, use your extra spot to churn through the waiver wire. Do I think Dyson Daniels stocks... Well, I don't think stocks is a real word, so there you go. No one's going to average 3 steals a game. I'm pretty certain about that. How many times a week do I shave my head? Sometimes it's not even once. It's usually like 7 to 10 days is how often I shave it. Is Smart a must-roster player? I think yes. I think he should be on a roster at this point. And whether it's yours or not, I don't think it matters that much. But I think that he should be on a roster, yes. What are my thoughts on Kessler? He's getting minutes and making the most of them, but he seems he could easily drop back down to mid to low 20s again. Yeah, I agree with that. I would say that is pretty spot on. He's getting a lot of minutes at the moment. My level of confidence in it remaining at that level is not very high. It's higher than it was last season for sure. I would say that's about right. I don't think he's going to be a droppable player or anything along those lines, but I'd be I'm a little concerned that maybe there's a reduction at some stage. Do I think Mobo will become a starter now that Barnes is out? Well, quickly is out too. Camden Barnes, this is something I detailed on a couple of shows earlier this week. Scotty Barnes is their current point guard. And if Mobo starts for him, their current point guard is nobody, right? That's the point, is there's nobody that's playing point guard on that team. That is what Scotty Barnes is doing. So we'll find out. We'll find out today. I'd be incredibly shocked if Mobo's in there to be the point guard, because who's going to be it? Are they going to whip Dick out to be their point guard? Probably not. Is Rowan Barrett going to be their point guard? I doubt it. I am pretty certain it'll just be Davion Mitchell that starts. Mobo will play more, I'm guessing, but I don't think he's going to... I could be wrong. Maybe they do say, hey, let's try Dick and see if he's our point guard. Don't think so, though. Don't think so. Would I trade Giddy for Quickly? Yeah, I would. I would do that. Max Strus, rest of season, 9-cat, 16-teamer. Yeah, the key thing here is 16 teams. In 12s, I have zero interest in Max Strus. In 14s, maybe. Probably in 14. 16, absolutely. Do it. No worries. All right. We'll come back, get some more questions in. We've got a couple more things to get to here. But today's episode is brought to you by those guys over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action. In fact, get ready to tackle the NBA Cup as well with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can get they can bet $5, win a first $5 bet, and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. In the middle of the game, you're watching the game, you open up the app, you see all the odds, they're there, they're ready to crack. And then you can see all the live stats. Then you can see all the live play-by-play data in that one spot. So go to FanDuel.com right now, join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay. Here's an interesting question from Nixa. He says, I'm the commish at Fantrax. In a Fantrax league, there's one pretty much inactive player. Is it okay for me to take over the team until I get someone to fill in? A couple of teams have already had easy wins. No, it's not. And the reason that I say that for you, like if this person who was inactive had have told you, hey, like I don't have the commitment for this, right? Sorry, I'm not going to be able to deal with my team. You could have made the decision right there and said, cool, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to set a lineup. That's what I'm going to do for this team, and you're good. But these teams have played this guy who's been inactive, and now you're going to stop other teams from doing that. That makes it even more unbalanced. Yes, it's annoying that there's a team that's not doing anything, but that's happening, right? And that has happened, and it's obviously happened for multiple weeks. So I don't think you should be making that decision. All right, let's go through some more. I've already answered that one there. What is my process for selecting and taking your facial reaction pictures? There's none really. Look, what I do in the morning is I set up the camera, obviously, to record this. And then when I'm doing the thumbnails, I just take like 3 photos in a row and I just pull different faces. There's no real thought behind it. And then the first one goes on the first thumbnail, the second one goes on the second thumbnail, and the third one goes on the third one for the videos. Yeah, easy. All right. Does Quickly's return affect Barrett's value? Yes, it will. All of his stuff is not. It's not easy. That's not the right term to say there. But yeah, it does, because Quickly will just get more usage, and Barrett's getting a lot of usage. And anytime you lose usage, you lose shot attempts, you lose ball handling opportunities, all that stuff. So yes, it will. Will it kill him? No. But yes, it will impact him. Do I think Bruce Brown will be a fringe top 100 player? I'll stop you right there. No, not at all. Not remotely close to that. Will he be solid? Maybe. Will he play 20 minutes a night? Also maybe. Why would they prioritize him over Dick, over Quickly, over Walter? He just will sit around 20, 23 minutes. He needs a very specific scenario, I believe, and we saw last year, it didn't happen. Top 100, I would be stunned if that happened. Stunned. Can I see John Collins finishing the season top 70? Look, he's been a huge surprise, and anything I've tried to say about John Collins this season I've gotten wrong. So take that part of into it. So I think possibly, but they have shown multiple times this season that they have not been wanting to give him those minutes, and it's just always seemed to be forced onto them. So top 70, yes. Like top 50, probably not. Probably not. Mads, you've got to be taking the piss. Have to be. I'd trade Bronny James. You have to be taking the piss, surely. Is Draymond worth rostering? Yeah, he is, Ujman. Would I use it as a stream support? Well, that's going to be a very specific thing. Like, as a general rule, if this is your worst player, and I really don't think Draymond is, because, again, if you've got him, there are very specific builds that it works through. But if Draymond was your worst player, then yeah, that spot is streamable. If he's not, then it's not. But when you pick someone like Draymond on your fantasy team, you know what you're getting. You're not getting scoring. You're getting nice rebounds and assists with a steal and a block. And he's actually been pretty good shooting threes this season. And that has real value for the right specific team. But if anyone basically is your worst player, then yeah, you can move on and get more value there. Because if it's your worst player and you get 3 games out of them versus using that spot and getting 5 out of them, well, that worst player would have to be so much better than the waiver wire options to make that make sense. Please answer a Pirtle question. I would if I saw one. I would do my best. No, Patrick Williams is not a solid pickup. We have seen Patrick Williams before, and he's bad. He had a little hot stretch early in the season, but I don't know what you're talking about, D-Boyd. Are you in a 16-team league? Then absolutely, yeah, great. Solid pickup. Love that for him. Are you in a 10-teamer? What are you talking about? Get out of here. No. Provide context, guys, but no, we also know who Patrick Williams is. He's bad, he sucks, he's terrible. Okay. Yes, Dean, the Wizards, I'm sure, know about Marvin Bagley, and they know that he is the future of that team, and I'm sure he'll get 50 minutes a game as we move forward. Is Jalen Johnson a sell high currently? Well, there is a lot of buzz over what Jalen did yesterday and how good he has been, absolutely. So if by sell high you mean you think someone might give you a top 12 player back, then yeah, I would consider that. Otherwise, I just would be enjoying it, to be honest. Well, there's a lot of the questions just flying through here, so apologies if I'm not getting to your questions. There's so many here. Who's my favorite rapper? As you might be well aware, I'm a 40-plus-year-old white man that lives in Australia. Not a big rap guy. So I'm going to say nobody because I don't listen to rap at all. Is Pirtle losing value now that Olynyk is back in the rotation? I don't think so. Doesn't seem to be so far, and no, I don't think that's going to be the case. Do I think Trey Murphy and Suggs are holds for rest of you in a 17-point seed? Jesus, okay, 17. What is going on in that league? Yeah. But you would know obviously you've made some custom changes because 17 is not a default thing that you've got. You can just have a look at what these guys are averaging last 7 days, last 10 days, and have a look how that compares to your waiver wire. And if it's the general rule in a points league is if your worst player is 3 or 4 points better than the waiver wire guys, then they're droppable. And again, it's really, really easy stuff to try and figure out through a math perspective, right? Is that if that player, let's just use 30 points as a number, and the guys on the waiver wire average 25. We can use those numbers that way, right? So if your worst player averages 30, they play 3 times in a week, that is 90 fantasy points as a general rule. And the guys on the waiver wire might get you 25. But then you can use that 3-game player, that roster spot, to get 5 games into that area. So 5 times 25 is 125. And 125 is 35 more fantasy points than holding onto that guy averaging 30. And even if that guy averaging 30 plays 4 games, that's 120 points. So that is 5 games off the waiver wire by streaming that spot, and still gives you a better result than holding on to that guy who's your worst player. Now, those numbers are all made up, but that is how you can figure out that calculation. Now, when you add a guy off the waiver wire, there's no guarantee he gives you 25 because of how averages work. He might give you 15, 15, 40, 40. That makes it tougher, right? But in general, using that spot, look at the gaps between it. Looks like you've got a pretty clear advantage in that. Like if the difference between your guy there is 30 and then the guy on the wire is 27, like it's really easy to just stream through that wire spot. You will almost undoubtedly beat that number very consistently. And I hope that makes sense for everybody. I'm sure it does. I don't think it was too complicated. Do I think Luka is going to be top 5 by end of year? Maybe. But Paprika Finessa, I also don't care. And I know that sounds rude, but I don't care. You pick Luka in the top 4, top 3, top 5, most likely. If Luka finishes 5th or 4th or 9th or 7th, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't have that gigantic impact on your team. It doesn't really mean anything. Do I think he can be top 5? Sure. Have I spent any sort of time looking at it to figure out whether he will? No, because again, that is not really the important thing at this point of the year, I don't think. Kev says Devin Vassell or Brook Lopez rest of the season. Well, I'm going to assume that you're in a league that counts 17 different categories with 30 players in it, so we'll go with that. I'm joking, Kev, of course, but this is a great example of who knows? I would say almost certainly it's Devin Vassell, but they are really different players. One guy gets blocks, one guy is a scorer. So it might, for the majority, there's a general blanket comment, it's Devin Vassell. For you specifically, it might be Brook Lopez, and I have no idea. Okay. Who's my favorite Canadian, Ricardo says? Well, the answer, Ricardo, is I like all Canadians apart from you. That's my favorite athlete to watch outside of basketball, and why? Good question. The guy that's given me the most buzz lately is old mate Guak Guat in Australia. I don't know if you've seen the 16-year-old sprinter who broke the Australian record and is absolutely cooking. He looked ridiculously good. But in terms of seeing people live last season, thanks to my mate Evan Phillips from the Dodgers, he said he got us some tickets to go watch a Dodgers game, and we watched. Obviously, watching Evan was great, but I watched Shohei Ohtani, and it was just like electric. Every time that he was out there, and then of course, like I think he was in the 8th in that game, he hit like a 3-run home run that gave the Dodgers the lead, and it was just ridiculous. And the atmosphere there was just crazy, and just watching that guy play and hit like that, it was just, I don't know, there was just something so crazy about watching him play. So there you go. Should you drop Cole Anthony for Case and Wallace? Absolutely no problem in doing that. Should you do it? That's up to you, but yeah, should you do that? I think it's worth looking at. Is there a reason fantasy doesn't include the Cup final game? Yes, CD24. The reason is it's not an NBA regular season game. It doesn't include in the NBA regular season, in the NBA regular season standings. It doesn't include in the NBA regular season stats. And the reason it doesn't count is it means that there are 2 teams who would play 83 games. And because it's not a regular season game, it's not going to count for fantasy. That's why. Okay. We're going to get close to wrapping this up here. Let's go through, do 2 more questions. 2 more questions. I'm just going to find what the good ones are. Oh, another Kawhi. Stop with the Kawhi questions, seriously. Parker says, you're a fan from Hawaii. W for you, living in Hawaii. Wondering if it's worth dropping Dick for Champagny or Lou Dort in a 12-team points league. Well, Parker, I think you know what I'm going to say here. You live in Hawaii. It's great. You love your sunshine. That's fantastic. Have a look. The answer to a lot of your questions in a points league is answered by looking at your points league roster. What do these guys average in your format? Is Dick getting 25 a game? Was Dick getting 30 a game when players were injured earlier in the season? What is Dort giving you? What is Champagny giving you? From eyeballing this, I think with Barnes out and quickly out, I probably want Dick right now. I want Dick at this moment. But if the numbers are close, that would mean, right, that means that Champagny and Dort are sitting on your waiver wire. And if that's close to what Dick is, then you know what that means? Stream it through. Take it when the Thunder have got a 3-game in 5-night period. Use Dort, move him on, get Dick. You move him on, get Champagny, move the next guy on, get whoever. Dick is not a long-term answer. Champagny might not be a long-term answer. Dort's going to be up and down. So use what's happening now and just move through it all. Your last roster spot is very, very rarely going to be somewhere you go, man, I grabbed him and I made that decision and that is the last time I make that decision. That's not how that works, really, ever. And I think if you approach it that way, it's going to just lead to problems. Ibrahim says, will Aldama keep this production? No, he won't. And I'll tell you why he won't, because if you just look at the shooting splits, it's just not a realistic thing. Now, will he be better than last season? It seems like it, yes. But being better than last season versus being what he currently is, there's a big gulf there. And I don't think that he's able to do that. So, will he keep his production? No. Does that mean he will still be good? Like he might be. But no, he will not keep that production. Am I expecting Giddey to be better throughout the rest of the season? No, actually, not really. He has been underwhelming, but the Bulls are obviously not loving what he gets defensively. There are issues with his shooting. Can there be incremental improvements? Sure. Is it an expectation for me? Not really. I'm not expecting them to just say, well, we're turning everything over to Giddey now. I don't think that's going to happen. So my expectation is not really. Not really. All right. We'll do one more question. I didn't ignore Aldama Ibrahim. I just answered your question. Is Josh Hart for Zach LaVine a good trade? Well, that I think he's going to bring us to an end here. And not because it's a bad question, because it's not. It's a good question. But I think that we can get overarching sort of stuff here from Ash Material, which is a great name, Ash. I'm sure Material's a long-standing family name. You're a family of tailors. Seamstresses. Is that a good trade? Well, the answer to you, Ash, and the answer to anybody who is looking at this is yes. And the answer to that question is also no. Because I don't know. And this is part of the joys of playing fantasy, especially if we're talking a category league. Josh Hart has been significantly better than Zach LaVine this season from a category perspective on the whole. But what if your team doesn't need the extra rebounds that Josh Hart gives? What if you don't believe in the field goal percentage and you shouldn't? And Josh Hart's little field goal bump, which is on low volume, doesn't actually make you competitive in that category. But what you really need is scoring. And you need a bulk threes. You need 5 assists. Well, that's probably about the same between LaVine and Hart. So, if you're expecting some of the shooting for Hart to come down, and I am, that's cool. But it might be great. It might be terrible. And that's how you can negotiate and how you can get W's in trades. Does it make sense on what you need? Because it's very clear that LaVine can be a top 50 guy. It's very clear that Josh Hart can be a top 50 guy. It's also possible that neither of them are, or they go back and forth through that. So just look at the ideas, the shape of the stats, the numbers they're giving you, and how it makes sense in your team. So to answer your question, yes. To answer your question, no. To answer your question, maybe. And that is really very specific stuff. So when I provide information about trades and buy lows and sell highs and all that stuff, I try and give information about what I think will go up and what will go down, the valuation of a player and where that sits, but also it is super important to just understand how that makes sense on your particular squad. Thank you, Ash, for giving us the final question to the day. And that, all of you blokes here, will wrap us up. So, you know what you can do? You can go ahead and you can hit the old double bang thumber. You can get us up towards 90K in the YouTube subs. Leave your comments, listen on audio, watch on the video as well. And guys, stay sexy. Be positive. I know that like with some of this stuff that I say, and I know how I talk, right? It does come across brash or not even brash. It comes abrupt, rough. But it's more just about, I really want to make sure, A, that this show can be entertaining, but also to get a point across. But even if there are no such thing as a dumb question, unless you're going to ask me again about trading for Embiid, that's a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question, and we're all here to learn things. We're all going to learn new things at any point. I'll never respond to anyone asking a question about you're in a taco league or, hey, why is your league so small? Taco, I'm not answering that. Yeah, I'm not going to stick the old taco hat on and be like, hey, you guys don't know what you're talking about. We all want to learn. We all want new things. So, find your new thing. Find your good thing. What did you find out today that was interesting that you didn't know about? What did you do good? What did you do that you should have done better? And then figure that out without beating yourself up about it. And again, I need to work on this all the time. So part of me telling you these messages is so I help myself too. Don't beat yourself up about a mistake. Figure out why it happened. If it happened, cool. But why? And then work to make it better. Guys, we and my taco hat are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.